Today, we're diving into something truly fascinating, a hidden geometry within the Qur'an, where the worlds of prime numbers and physics come together to reveal a profound and completely unexpected order. To get started, I want you to picture something. Imagine you're looking at the bottom of a swimming pool on a bright, sunny day. You see that shimmering, dancing pattern of light, right? It seems totally random, just chaos. But here's the thing, it's not random at all. What looks like chaos is actually the result of light obeying perfect, unbreakable physical laws as it's bent and focused by the water. And there's a name for these bright patterns. They're called caustics. They are, in a way, the fingerprints of order, a perfect geometry that emerges from what looks like a messy, unpredictable system. Now, this core idea of a hidden, perfect order hiding beneath what seems to be chaos, that's the key to everything we're about to explore. So, with that idea in mind, let's apply that same analogy to the world of mathematics. We're going to talk about prime numbers, the indivisible atoms of counting. You remember these from school, right? Primes are the fundamental building blocks of all other numbers. They can only be divided by themselves and 1. And for centuries, everyone just assumed they were scattered randomly along the number line, with no real pattern to speak of. But it turns out that's not the whole story. We now know they have this incredible dual nature. If you look at them up close, locally, they seem completely chaotic. It's really hard to predict where the next one will pop up. But when you zoom out, when you look at them on a global scale, bam, they form these stunningly rigid geometric patterns. This dual nature, where local chaos gives way to global order, is exactly what we need to keep in mind. You can almost think of it in physics terms, like they have a kind of wave-particle duality. They have a wave-like nature. They seem spread out and probabilistic. But they also have a particle-like nature. They're locked into these fixed, constrained patterns. Just remember that idea of duality, because it is absolutely crucial. So, what on earth does this have to do with the Qur'an? Well, let's make a pivot here, from pure mathematics to the very architecture of the text itself, which it turns out presents a very similar puzzle, a puzzle of apparent chaos and deep, hidden order. Let's start with this number, 286. This is the exact number of verses in the Qur'an's second chapter, al-Baqarah. It's the longest chapter by a long shot, and because of that, it acts as the structural spine of the entire text. Now, because it's so long, it creates this really interesting kind of mathematical filter. Think it through with me. At verse number 1, all 114 chapters of the Qur'an are in the game. By the time you get to verse 50, a bunch of the shorter chapters have already ended. By verse 200, only the real giants are left. And once you pass verse 229, there's only one chapter left standing, the spine. And here it is. This is the moment where our two threads, the strange duality of prime numbers and the unique structure of the Qur'an, come together in a really remarkable way. This is where that caustic pattern we talked about begins to take shape. So we're not going to look at every single verse anymore. Instead, we're going to apply a prime number filter. We're only going to look at the verses that fall on a prime numbered position in the grand sequence of all 6,236 verses. We're essentially looking for the prime light rays as they pass through the text. And when we do that, what we find is an incredible concentration, 58%. This number represents a focal point, a place where the text structure seems to bend and concentrate those prime-numbered verses. Here's the kicker. Chapter 2, the spine, is acting just like that lens of water in the pool. It's focusing the light of the prime-numbered verses. Out of the very first 100 prime-numbered verse positions in the entire Qur'an, a staggering 58 of them land inside Chapter 2 alone. This is way beyond chance. It is a true caustic focus. But hang on, remember the duality of primes? We just saw the wave-like probabilistic side of things, that bright focus. Now, let's look for the particle-like nature, the rigid, deterministic lock that holds the entire system together. And wow, just take a look at this. This table shows that global constraint in action. It turns out there are exactly 32 chapters in the Qur'an that have a prime number of verses. Now look at what happens. If you take those 32 chapters and add up their verse counts, you get 1,076. Then you add the sum of their corresponding prime sequence indices. That's 5,160. And what do you get? Exactly 6,236, the total number of verses in the entire Qur'an. That's not random. That's a deterministic checksum. It's a global arithmetic lock. So, what in the world does all of this mean? We've got this local caustic focus and we've got this global deterministic lock. Why does any of this matter? Well, it points to a profound architectural integrity. A prime number, by its very definition, is irreducible. You can't break it down into smaller factors without destroying what it is. What this analysis suggests is that the Quran's very structure might also be irreducible. You can't just remove its core components without making the entire mathematical framework completely collapse. And let's be really clear, this isn't about numerology or finding some kind of magic numbers. This is about revealing an indivisible mathematical skeleton. Chapter 2 is acting like a rigid constraint field, and those prime positions are like irreducible points of contact, locking the whole structure in place. And you can see this constraint most clearly at the very end. The final verses of Chapter 2 fall on prime numbers 277, 281, and 283. And get this, 281 and 283 are a twin prime pair. Right at these moments of maximum constraint, only the spine is left standing, as if it's forcing the entire text structure to align with these deep mathematical laws. So just like that shimmering light on the bottom of the pool, the apparent randomness in the chapter lengths and verse distributions, it really seems to be an illusion of perspective. The deeper reality looks to be a causic pattern etched into the very architecture of the text by an irreducible mathematical law. And all of this leaves us with a final and pretty provocative question. If the text itself contains such a deep integrated structure, what does it mean to truly integrate its message into our own lives? This analysis points to an architecture of truth, leaving us to think about how we might build our own lives upon such an incredible foundation.